Hey warriors, welcome back to the channel. You helped them when no one else would. You defended them when everyone else attacked. You were there during their darkest moments, their biggest failures, their most vulnerable times. You gave everything. You sacrificed. You showed up. And now they can't stand you. Now they're spreading rumors about you. Now they're working against you. Now they've turned people you both knew against you. And you're sitting there, destroyed, asking yourself, after everything I did for them, how could they do this? Here's the truth nobody's telling you. After everything you did is exactly why they turned. Not in spite of it. Because of it. Because you saw them at their lowest. Because you know things about them they want forgotten. Because your presence is a constant reminder of a version of themselves they're trying to erase. And here's the part that's going to mess you up. This keeps happening to you. Different people, same pattern. The friend you helped becomes the one who betrays you. The colleague you mentored becomes your competition. The partner you supported through crisis becomes the one who leaves when you need support. You keep thinking it's bad luck. You keep thinking you're choosing wrong. But here's what you haven't figured out yet. You didn't do anything wrong. They were always going to turn. Not because you failed them. Because turning is what people do when their circumstances change. When you stop being useful. When staying loyal costs more than betraying you. When you represent a past they want to escape. Machiavelli understood something that destroys most people. Loyalty isn't earned through sacrifice. It's maintained through leverage. And the moment you lose your leverage, the moment their need for you changes, the moment you become associated with their weakness instead of their strength, loyalty evaporates like it was never there. Stay till the end, because I'm about to show you why the people closest to you are statistically the most likely to betray you. Why your goodness is actually setting you up for betrayal. And how to build a life where no single person's turn can destroy you ever again. If you're starting to see why everyone you've ever trusted has an expiration date, subscribe now. Because what comes next is how to build relationships that can't betray you. And it only works if you accept that betrayal is inevitable and plan accordingly. Let me show you exactly how this works. You meet someone. Could be a friendship, could be romantic, could be professional. Doesn't matter. In the beginning, there's alignment. You both need something the other provides. Maybe it's emotional support. Maybe it's professional advancement. Maybe it's social validation. Whatever it is, your interests align. So you invest. You show up. You help them through difficult times. You make sacrifices. You prove your loyalty. And they reciprocate. They're grateful. They're loyal. They tell you you're different from everyone else. They tell you they'll never forget what you did for them. And you believe it. You believe that your sacrifice has purchased permanent loyalty. You believe that the bond you've built is unbreakable. You believe that history together means something. But here's what you missed. While you were building an emotional bond based on loyalty and sacrifice, they were calculating a cost-benefit analysis based on utility and convenience. You thought you were creating a relationship. They thought they were accepting services. You thought you were investing in a permanent connection. They thought they were utilizing a temporary resource. And the moment the calculation changed, the moment you stopped being more valuable than you were costly, the moment staying loyal became inconvenient, the moment you knew too much about the version of themselves they're trying to leave behind, the relationship was over. Not slowly. Not with warning signs, instantly, in their mind at least. It just took time for you to notice. Let me give you a real scenario. You help a friend through a divorce. You're there for every breakdown, every 3 a.m. call, every moment of weakness. You see them at absolute rock bottom. You know things about them nobody else knows. You witness the version of themselves they're most ashamed of. And in those moments, they're grateful. They tell you they couldn't have survived without you. They promise they'll always be there for you. They say you're family. And then they recover. They rebuild their life. They become the person they wanted to be, and suddenly you're a problem. Not because you did anything wrong, but because you're a walking reminder of their lowest point. Every time they see you, they remember who they were when they needed you. And people don't want to be reminded of their weakness. They want to forget it. They want to pretend it never happened. And the easiest way to do that? Remove the witness. Remove you. So they start pulling away. They're busy. They're distant. They're making new friends who only know the successful version of them. And when you try to maintain the connection, when you reference the history you have together, when you expect the loyalty they promised, they resent you for it. They resent you for remembering. They resent you for expecting reciprocity. They resent you for not letting them pretend that chapter of their life never happened. And eventually they don't just distance themselves, they turn. They rewrite the history. They tell people you were toxic. They tell people you were holding them back. They tell people you were the problem all along. And everyone believes them. Because who are you? You're the person associated with their old life. And they're the person who's clearly moved on to something better. This is the pattern. This is what you keep experiencing. And it's not about you choosing wrong people. It's not about you being too nice. It's about you fundamentally misunderstanding how human loyalty works. You think loyalty is emotional. You think it's about love, about history, about what you've been through together. But Machiavelli understood that loyalty is strategic. It's about ongoing mutual benefit. It's about aligned interests. It's about each person believing that maintaining the relationship serves them better than ending it. And the moment that calculation changes, loyalty ends. Immediately, completely, and often brutally. He wrote, "The bond of love is one which men, wretched creatures that they are, break when it is to their advantage to do so." Read that again. Not might break, not sometimes break, will break, when it's to their advantage, not when you've failed them, not when you've done something wrong, when breaking the bond serves them better than keeping it. That's the only calculation that matters. And your sacrifice, your history together, your loyalty, none of that changes the math. It just makes you more shocked when the inevitable happens. Now let me show you why this happens more often with the people you've helped the most. You'd think gratitude would create loyalty. You'd think that helping someone when they're desperate would make them loyal forever. But it doesn't. It does the opposite. Because gratitude is an uncomfortable emotion. It's a debt. It's a reminder of weakness. It's an acknowledgement that you needed someone else to survive. And people hate feeling indebted. They hate feeling weak. They hate being reminded that they weren't self-sufficient. So what do? They reframe the narrative. They tell themselves that they would have been fine without you, that they didn't really need your help, that you probably had ulterior motives anyway. And once they've rewritten the story in their head, once they've convinced themselves that they don't owe you anything, turning against you becomes easy. It becomes justified. It becomes necessary to complete their new narrative where they're the hero who overcame everything alone. Let me give you another scenario. You mentor someone at work. You teach them everything you know. You introduce them to your network. You go out of your way to create opportunities for them. You're invested in their success. And they rise, they get promoted, they get recognition. And then what happens? They start competing with you. They start taking credit for ideas that were yours. They start positioning themselves as your replacement. And when you confront them, when you remind them that you're the one who helped them get where they are, they act like you're being petty, like you're jealous of their success, like you're trying to hold them back. And everyone around you believes their version because they're succeeding and you're complaining. They're moving up and you're bringing up the past. And in the eyes of everyone watching, you look like the problem. This is why Machiavelli warned, friendships that are obtained by payments and not by greatness or nobility of mind may indeed be earned, but they are not secured and in time of need cannot be relied upon. You thought helping them was building a friendship. But if the friendship is based on what you did for them, on your utility, on your sacrifice, it's not a real bond, it's a transaction. And transactions end when the terms change, when they no longer need what you provide, when the cost of loyalty exceeds the benefit, when maintaining the relationship reminds them of a time in their life they want to forget. You see the pattern now. You see why this keeps happening. It's not personal, it's structural. It's how human relationships work when they're built on the wrong foundation. You built on sacrifice and loyalty. They built on utility and convenience. You thought you were creating something permanent. They thought they were accepting something temporary. And when their needs changed, when their circumstances shifted, when you stopped being an asset and started being a liability, the relationship ended. Not because you failed, because the foundation was never what you thought it was. Now, let's talk about why the people closest to you are the most dangerous. You'd think proximity would create loyalty. You'd think that sharing your life with someone, knowing their secrets, building history together, that all of that would make betrayal unthinkable. But it doesn't. It makes betrayal inevitable, because proximity is vulnerability. The people who know you best are the people who can hurt you most. They know your weaknesses. They know your fears. They know what you value. They know where you're soft. And when they turn, not if, when, they have every weapon they need to destroy you. Think about your worst betrayals. Who were they? Strangers? Casual acquaintances? No. They were best friends, partners, family, people you trusted completely, people you were vulnerable with, people you thought would never hurt you. And that's exactly why they could hurt you so effectively. Because you gave them access. You showed them where you were breakable. And when their interests diverged from yours, when turning against you became advantageous, when they needed to hurt you to help themselves, they had everything they needed to do maximum damage. Let me show you how this plays out in romantic relationships. You're with someone. You're in love. You share everything. Your dreams, your fears, your past traumas, your insecurities. You make yourself completely vulnerable because that's what you think intimacy requires. And for a while, it's beautiful. They hold your vulnerability carefully. They reassure you. They make you feel safe. And you think, this is different. This person would never hurt me. This person loves me. This connection is unbreakable. But then something changes. Maybe they meet someone else. Maybe their feelings shift. Maybe you stop serving whatever psychological need you were filling. And suddenly, all that vulnerability you shared, all those secrets you told, all those insecurities you revealed, they become weapons. They use your fears against you. They exploit your insecurities to make you question yourself. They share your secrets to justify why they're leaving, and you're devastated. Not just because they left, but because they used everything you gave them in love as ammunition to destroy you on the way out. This is why Machiavelli understood that love without fear is dangerous. He wrote that it's better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. Not because he was advocating for cruelty, but because he understood that love is conditional on feelings, and feelings change. But fear, respect for consequences, understanding that betrayal carries cost, that's based on calculation. And calculation is more reliable than emotion. If someone loves you, they might betray you when their feelings change. But if someone fears what will happen if they betray you, if they understand that turning against you will cost them more than staying loyal, they'll stay loyal even when feelings fade. But you never built that architecture. You built relationships on love, on trust, on emotional bonds. And those bonds break every single time. Not because love isn't real, but because love isn't enough. Because feelings change, because circumstances shift, because people grow in different directions, because what someone needs from you at 25 is different from what they need at 35. And when your utility to them changes, when you stop filling the role they need filled, When someone else can give them what you're giving them, but without the history, without the baggage, without the reminder of who they used to be, you're gone. And all the love you had, all the history you shared, it doesn't matter. Because it was never the foundation, it was just the decoration on a structure that was always temporary. Now let me show you the mechanism that makes betrayal inevitable. It's called interest divergence. When you first connect with someone, your interests align. You both want the same things from the relationship. You both benefit. You both need each other in some way. That's why the relationship forms. That's why it works. But here's what you don't account for. Interests change. People change. Circumstances change. And as they change, interests that were once aligned start to diverge. Maybe you're both climbing the career ladder together, but then one of you gets ahead and the other becomes competition. Maybe you're both single and bonding over that, but then one of you gets into a relationship and the dynamic shifts. Maybe you're both struggling and supporting each other, but then one recovers and the other is a reminder of struggle. Whatever the specific cause, the result is the same. What was once mutual benefit becomes mutual burden. And that's when the turn happens. Let me give you a professional example. You and a colleague start a business together, equal partners. You're both hungry, you're both grinding, you're both sacrificing. Your interests are perfectly aligned. Build the business, make it successful, split the rewards, and for years it works. You're brothers, you're partners, you trust each other completely, but then the business succeeds. Really succeeds, and suddenly the math changes. You start seeing things differently. One of you wants to scale, the other wants to maintain. One wants to take risks, the other wants to protect what you've built. One wants to bring in outside investors, the other wants to keep it just the two of you. Your interests have diverged. And once that happens, the partnership is over. It might take months or years to fully fall apart, but the end is inevitable from the moment interests stop aligning. And here's the part that destroys you. They'll turn on you and act like you're the one who changed. They'll say you got greedy. They'll say you're not the person they went into business with. They'll rewrite the history to make themselves the loyal one and you the betrayer. And everyone watching will believe them, because they're better at narrative control than you are. Because they were planning the turn while you were still believing in loyalty. Because they understood that the relationship was always conditional while you thought it was permanent. This is what Machiavelli meant when he said, "Upon this one has to remark that men ought either to be well treated or crushed, because they can avenge themselves of lighter injuries, of more serious ones they cannot." If you're going to elevate someone, elevate them so completely that they're dependent on you, that they can't survive without you, that turning against you would be self-destruction, or keep them at a distance where they can't hurt you. But the middle ground, where you've helped them enough that they're powerful, but not so much that they're dependent, that's where betrayal breeds. Because you've given them tools to hurt you, but not reasons to stay loyal. You've made them strong enough to be dangerous, but not grateful enough to be safe. You've been operating in that middle ground your entire life, helping people enough to make them powerful, showing them enough vulnerability to give them ammunition, getting close enough to matter but not strategic enough to create dependency. And that's why you keep getting turned on, because you're building relationships in the exact zone where betrayal is most likely and most damaging. Now let's talk about the types of people who turn and why. First type, the climber. This is someone who's using you as a stepping stone. They need you now because you have something they want: connections, knowledge, access, credibility. So they're loyal, they're grateful, they act like you're the most important person in their life. But the moment they extract what they need, the moment they've climbed high enough that you're no longer useful, they're gone. And they don't just leave quietly, they distance themselves publicly, because being associated with you, with the person they needed when they were struggling, makes them look weak. So they turn. They reframe your relationship to make it seem like they were doing you a favor. And everyone believes it because they're higher status now, and you're not. Second type, the victim. This is someone who bonds with you over shared struggle. Maybe you're both going through hard times. Maybe you're both outcasts. Maybe you're both dealing with similar trauma. And the bond feels deep because it's forged in pain. But here's what you don't see coming. The moment they heal, the moment they move past their victim identity, you become a problem. Because you represent that chapter. You knew them when they were weak. And they don't want to be that person anymore. So they don't just move on from you. They turn on you. They paint you as toxic, as someone who was keeping them stuck, as someone who was benefiting from their pain. And suddenly, leaving you becomes part of their healing narrative. And you're the villain in their recovery story. Third type, the competitor. This is someone who starts as an ally, but whose success trajectory puts them in competition with you. Maybe you're in the same industry. Maybe you're dating people from the same pool. Maybe you're vying for the same opportunities. In the beginning, when you're both struggling, there's no competition, there's solidarity. But the moment you're both succeeding, the moment you're both going after the same things, the ally becomes the enemy, and they'll use everything they learned from you, every strategy you shared, every weakness you revealed, every contact you introduced them to, against you. Because in their mind, it's not betrayal, it's competition, and all's fair in competition. Fourth type, the dependent who becomes independent. This is someone you helped when they were helpless. You gave them money, time, emotional support, opportunities. They needed you desperately, and they were loyal as long as they needed you. But the moment they become self-sufficient, the moment they no longer need your help, the relationship changes. Because dependency breeds resentment. They don't want to be reminded that they once needed you. They don't want to feel indebted. So they rewrite the history. They convince themselves they didn't really need your help, that they would have been fine without you, that you probably had selfish motives anyway. And once they've rewritten that history, turning on you isn't betrayal, it's independence. It's them finally freeing themselves from someone who was probably manipulating them all along. You see the pattern? Every type turns for a different reason, but they all turn. The climber turns because you're no longer useful. The victim turns because you represent a past they want to escape. The competitor turns because you're in the way. The dependent turns because loyalty feels like debt, and none of them think they're betraying you. They all have narratives that justify it. They all have reasons that make sense to them. And that's what makes betrayal inevitable. Because people don't need to be evil to betray you. They just need circumstances that make betrayal more advantageous than loyalty. So what do? How do you build a life that survives this inevitable pattern? 3 strategies, 3 layers of protection, 3 ways to make sure that when people turn, and they will, they can't destroy you. Strategy 1. Diversify your dependencies. This is the foundation. You cannot make any single person essential to your happiness, your success, or your emotional stability. The moment someone becomes essential is the moment they have power over you. And power over you means the ability to destroy you through betrayal. So you spread your dependencies. Multiple friends, not one best friend. Multiple income streams, not one job. Multiple sources of meaning, not one relationship. Multiple support systems, not one person you rely on. This doesn't mean you can't have close relationships. It means you can't have dependencies. Because dependencies create vulnerability, and vulnerability gets exploited. Think about your current life. If your best friend turned on you tomorrow, would you survive socially? If your partner left, would you survive emotionally? If your business partner betrayed you, would you survive financially? If the answer to any of these is no, you've made a strategic error. You've built your life on a foundation that requires other people's continued loyalty. And their loyalty is temporary, So your foundation is unstable. You need to rebuild. Multiple friends, multiple income sources, multiple support systems, multiple sources of identity and meaning, so that when one person turns, and they will, you don't collapse. You recalibrate and continue. Strategy 2. Maintain strategic distance even in intimacy. This is the hardest one, because everything in you wants to be fully known. You want to share everything. You want complete vulnerability. You want someone to see all of you and love all of you. But complete vulnerability is complete risk. The person who knows all your weaknesses is the person who can destroy you most effectively. So you maintain layers. You share, but you don't share everything. You're intimate, but you're not transparent. You're close, but you're not dependent. This isn't about being fake. It's about being strategic. It's about understanding that the person you're closest to today might be the person working against you tomorrow. And when that happens, you don't want them to have every weapon. This means you don't tell anyone everything. Not your partner, not your best friend, not your family. Everyone gets some truth, but nobody gets all of it. Everyone gets some access, but nobody gets complete access. Everyone knows some of your weaknesses, but nobody knows all of them. This way, if they turn, the damage is limited. They can hurt you, but they can't destroy you. They can wound you, but they can't kill you. And that limitation is the difference between recovering from betrayal and being destroyed by it. Strategy 3. Create asymmetric loyalty. This is the Machiavellian move. You don't just wait for people to turn and hope you survive. You structure relationships so that their turning is more costly to them than staying loyal is. You create dependencies that run toward you, not away from you. You make yourself valuable enough that losing you hurts them more than it hurts you. You build leverage. You control resources they need. You have information they don't want revealed. You hold keys to doors they want to walk through, and you make sure they know, subtly, implicitly, that betraying you carries cost. This isn't about being manipulative or cruel. It's about being realistic. It's about understanding that loyalty based purely on emotion is temporary, but loyalty based on continued mutual benefit is sustainable. You want people to stay loyal, not just because they love you, but because staying loyal serves them better than turning. Because the opportunities you provide are worth more than whatever they'd gain by betraying you. Because the cost of being on your bad side exceeds the benefit of distancing from you. That's sustainable loyalty. That's strategic relationship design. That's how you build connections that last, not because people are good, but because staying connected is smart. Let me show you what this looks like in practice. You have a business relationship. You're working with someone on a project. Instead of just being partners who split everything equally, you structure it so you control a critical component they can't access without you. Maybe it's the client relationship. Maybe it's the technical knowledge. Maybe it's the network. Whatever it is, you make sure that if they turn, they lose more than they gain. You're not hoarding unfairly. You're creating asymmetric dependency, where they need you more than you need them, where your value to them exceeds their value to you. That's leverage, and leverage creates loyalty. Or, in personal relationships, you don't just give everything equally. You maintain areas of your life they're not part of. Friends they don't know, interests they don't share, resources they don't access. So if they leave, they don't take your entire life with them. You lose a component, not the whole structure. This isn't about being withholding. It's about being whole. It's about having an identity, a life, a network that exists independent of any single relationship. So that when that relationship ends, through betrayal or otherwise, you remain intact. Now here's what happens when you implement these three strategies. When you diversify dependencies, maintain strategic distance, and create asymmetric loyalty. People still turn, because turning is inevitable. Circumstances change. Interests diverge. People grow apart. That doesn't stop. But what changes is the impact. When someone turns now, you don't collapse. You don't question everything. You don't get destroyed. You just recalibrate. You close that door. You open others. You survive. Because you built a life that doesn't require any single person's loyalty to function. And here's the beautiful part. When you become someone who can't be destroyed by betrayal, people are less likely to betray you. Not because they're more loyal, but because betrayal is only satisfying when it wounds. When you turn against someone and they collapse, it feels powerful. It feels justified. It feels like you won. But when you turn against someone and they barely react, when they just continue without you like you were optional all along, that's not satisfying. That's just you removing yourself from someone's life and them not caring. And people don't want to do that. So paradoxically, by preparing for betrayal, by building a life that survives it, you make betrayal less likely. Not impossible, never impossible, but less likely. And when it does happen, less damaging. If this is landing, if you're seeing the pattern in every relationship you've had, hit that like button. Machiavelli understood this. He knew that the best defense against betrayal isn't preventing it, it's making yourself immune to it. He knew that you can't control other people's loyalty. You can't force people to stay. You can't make them value history over convenience. But you can control your own structure. You can build a life where no single person's departure destroys you, where no single betrayal defines you, where turning against you is always an option for others, but never a devastating one for you. This is the shift you need to make, from trying to earn permanent loyalty to accepting temporary loyalty and building accordingly, from trying to prevent betrayal to preparing to survive it. From hoping people won't turn to knowing they eventually will, and making sure you're okay when they do. This isn't cynical. This is realistic. This isn't pessimistic. This is strategic. This is understanding how human relationships actually work and adapting your approach accordingly. And yes, this means you'll never have the fairy tale. You'll never have the relationship where you trust completely, share everything, depend totally, and never get hurt. That doesn't exist. That's the fantasy that keeps destroying you. The reality is, every relationship is temporary. Every loyalty is conditional. Every ally is a future neutral or enemy. And the people who survive aren't the ones who prevent this pattern. They're the ones who accept it and build lives that work anyway. You want to know why people eventually turn against you? Because they always do. Because circumstances change. Because interests diverge. Because you represent a past they want to escape, or a present they want to compete with, or a future they can access better without you. Because gratitude is uncomfortable, and loyalty is expensive, and turning is easy when they've reframed the narrative to justify it. Because you saw them at their weakest, and they don't want to remember that weakness. Because you helped them climb, and now you're in the way. Because you were there when they needed you, and now they don't need you anymore. And you can't prevent it. You can't love them enough. You can't sacrifice enough. You can't be good enough. You can't build enough history. Because none of that changes the math. None of that makes loyalty permanent. None of that stops the inevitable turn when circumstances make betrayal more advantageous than loyalty. But you can survive it. You can build a life where their turning doesn't destroy you, where you diversify so no single loss collapses everything, where you maintain strategic distance so they don't have all the weapons, where you create asymmetric loyalty so turning costs them more than it costs you. That's the solution, not preventing betrayal, surviving it, not building relationships that never end, building a life that continues when they do. You can't change human nature. You can't make people loyal forever. You can't prevent the turn, but you can make yourself unbreakable when it happens. You can build a life where betrayal is expected, planned for, and survivable. where you never again sit in shock asking, how could they? Because you knew they would, you knew they always do, and you built accordingly. That's the Machiavellian truth. That's the harsh reality nobody wants to accept, but everyone eventually learns. People turn, not because they're evil, because they're human, because circumstances change and interests diverge, and what you built together stops serving them, and suddenly loyalty is too expensive, and turning is too easy, and you're the reminder of a chapter they want to close. And the only question is, will you be destroyed by it, or will you survive it intact? Will you keep building your life on the fantasy of permanent loyalty, or will you accept temporary loyalty and architect accordingly? Will you keep being shocked by betrayal, or will you expect it and protect yourself from it? The choice is yours, but understand, not choosing is a choice. Hoping it won't happen again is a strategy, and it's a strategy that's failed you every single time, because hope doesn't change human nature. Hope doesn't prevent interest divergence. Hope doesn't make loyalty permanent. Hope just makes you unprepared when the inevitable happens again. So stop hoping, start building. Build multiple dependencies so no single loss destroys you. Build strategic distance so no single person has all the weapons. Build asymmetric loyalty so turning costs them more than staying. Build a life that assumes betrayal and survives it anyway. Because people will always eventually turn. That's the pattern. That's human nature. That's how relationships work when circumstances change and interests diverge, and what you were to them stops being what they need. But you don't have to be destroyed by it anymore. You can be the person who survives every turn, who expects it, who planned for it, who built a life where betrayal is just a data point, not a devastation. That's power. That's resilience. That's the Machiavellian way. Not preventing betrayal, becoming immune to it, not building relationships that never end. Building a life that continues regardless, not trusting people to stay loyal forever, trusting yourself to survive when they don't. If you're ready to stop being destroyed by inevitable betrayal and start building a life that survives it, subscribe and turn on notifications. This channel is for people who understand that loyalty is temporary and plan accordingly. Drop a comment telling me which strategy you're implementing first: diversify dependencies, strategic distance, or asymmetric loyalty. Share this with someone who's still confused about why people keep turning on them. Because the world needs more people who understand this truth, and fewer people getting destroyed by betrayal they could have survived if they'd just built differently. Welcome to reality. It's harsher than you wanted, but it's more survivable than you thought. If you build right, if you accept the truth, if you stop building on fantasy and start building on reality, people will turn, build accordingly, and never be destroyed by betrayal again.